Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to this panel discussion on the postgraduate diploma in educational assessments. It is wonderful to have such a diverse group of educators and practitioners with us today. We welcome our alumni panel. I would start first Anupama with Anupama Raj, who's a faculty at Azim Premji University. Manju Surendran, who's the Director Academics at Fravashi International Academy. We have Priyanka Ahuja with us, who's the Senior Managing Editor at Madhupan Educational Books. We have Sadhna Guru, who's a lecturer, District Institute of Education and Training from Diet Gaisling, Sikkim. Then we have Shardul, who's a senior manager at Akanksha Foundation. And we have Silka Desanke, who's the project associate at Eklavya Foundation. It is a pleasure to have all of you with us today. Uh, as many of us recognize, conversations happening around assessments, which is evolving in nature. From a very focusing on testing and scoring kind of a conversation to now we have moved towards competency-based, holistic, and learner-centered approaches shaped by policy shifts and also, of course, the grounded practice. This panel brings together alumni and faculty who have engaged deeply with these ideas through the diploma program and also applied them across their experiences, which is across schools and systems and publishing houses as well, and also the development sector. And we are also very happy that this is the first alumni, discussion which we are holding today. So, over the next hour, we hope to explore their journeys, the challenges they have encountered, the insights they have gained, and how their learnings from this diploma course continues to influence their work. And I invite all the participants who have joined us to listen, reflect, and also engage with the participants during the discussion. I request you to please type in your questions on the chat. We would be very happy to take them up here at the right juncture. So to begin with, let's start by hearing from our panelists today about their current roles and what motivated them to join the program. So maybe I can begin with Manju Surendran ma'am. Yes, over to you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Manju Surendran. I currently head an international curriculum school known as Fravashi International Academy at Nasik. We are one of the largest international curriculum school which offers the pathway. That means from early years Cambridge program up to A levels. With a cohort of almost more than 1,100 students across the bandwidth of early years to A levels we have. And it's a huge, beautiful campus that we have, about almost 13.5 acres of a campus on the backwaters of the Gangapur Dam. So for me, the decision to join the postgraduate diploma in assessment with Azim Premji was a very conscious decision because as an educational leader over the last 1 decade and as a practitioner for more than 15 years, I think, and more so as a history teacher for a good 15, 16 years, assessment has always been a googly for me because that's one thing I felt always put a student out of the comfort zone of learning. And the way assessment has always been perceived and looked at as something that you do after learning stops. So however hard a well-meaning tutor tried to change that narrative, there were many policy, process, implications which did not allow you to look at assessment from a learning lens. And the course structure coming from Azim Premji Foundation and also looking at the design of the course, I was very sure that I would be engaging myself for more than a year, discussing, learning, unlearning, and reflecting upon the concept of assessment from various perspectives. And I cannot be more happier about that decision. Although when I applied for the course, even the process of the application process was a rigorous process, and it kind of assured me that I'm not going ahead and doing just any other diploma or a certificate program. It is something that is demanding the learner, whoever is signing up, to be ready for a very thorough, deep, immersive program. So that's been my journey. And I have Anupama here with us, who had asked me this question at that point of time also, that being a leader for such a long time and having done all this, why do you still need to do? And I'm glad she asked me that question, because that was also a very reflective process for me to ask myself that why do I want to do it? And this was certainly not a decision to do a diploma just to add to my CV. That certainly was not the point. And I'm really glad that that question set me thinking. And the journey has been absolutely wonderful. And it did give full credit to the way the course, the faculty took us through. I have two of my colleagues here who were there with me in the journey. And it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing it so very well, Manju ma'am. And the way you had tried to bring in that also, how while you were, what was the process like when you enter the course? So, as you rightly mentioned, that there is also an interaction with the faculty, which, you had to go through. You also write, and kind of there is an application process, plus there is a process where we also talk and understand, what is, why are you here, what brings you here. So thanks for sharing that. And I would now invite Priyanka to please share what motivated you to join this program.
Yeah, hi, good evening. I'm Priyanka and I currently work as a senior managing editor with Madhuban Educational Books. And I'm currently managing STEM subjects, so mathematics, science, EVS, computer science. But I've been in this industry for nearly 2 decades now. And I've been part of higher education, reference books, textbooks. And I've seen this grow over the last 20 years, this industry. So when something like this, I saw the advertisement by Azim Premji University. Why I started following Azim Premji was when I was developing a mathematics textbook, and we were looking for reviewers. And we were looking for reviewers who we usually go to teachers, faculty members who are currently teaching those grades, but we wanted something very, very different. We wanted a very different perspective because we were trying something very new. And a colleague of mine told me that there is this university, and you would find that edge that you're looking for. And that's when I started following Azim Premji University. And over the course of years, of course, we got excellent feedback and excellent review that time. But since I started following, I got to know about this course, and I saw the advertisement, and I thought maybe this is something very interesting. And I would agree with Dr. Manju. I mean, when she said that, this was just not one course that I wanted to add into my CV. I was genuinely interested in understanding what could be something that people are talking about educational assessment. What is it that they can talk about? Because we've been developing, and teachers, publishers, textbook editors, we've been doing this for so many years. So what is it that we can actually learn about in this course? And I applied, and I think Anupama and Shilpi were the one who interviewed me, and they were also a bit taken aback, because I think I was one of the very few people from publishing background who had applied. And they asked me straight away, why do you want to join such a course? And the reason I gave and what motivated me basically was NEP, and NEP had just come in, NEP 2020. It had been a couple of years that policy had come in, and there were a lot of jargon, like terms like competency-based education, holistic education, activity-based, learning by doing, and all of those knowledge, capacities, values, dispositions. Of course, we had some understanding of this, we being in the industry, but I really wanted to get the nuances of when somebody says competency, what it actually means. And to be honest, I still meet a lot of teachers and even colleagues in my field. They are still not aware of what actually competency means. They think it's the literal meaning. It's competency means skills, and there is no other aspect to it. So that's why I wanted to join this course, and that I think that's the answer I also gave during the interview, and it really helped me. So the biggest takeaway I would say from this course, doing this extensive course for a year, the biggest takeaway for me and what is really helping me even now in my role is understanding the nuances of these terms. And I can see now, I can very well differentiate between people who know about these things and people who still have misconceptions. So this has really helped me in a huge way. Of course, there are a lot of other things. While developing textbooks, you need to do a lot of other things, a lot of new kind of features, pedagogical transactions that you can include. And there, of course, this course helped me, and there was a lot that you can learn basically in all these 4 certificate courses. But the biggest takeaway for me was these key terms, and I got to know the real meaning of these terms. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Priyanka. It was a delight listening to you. And as you rightly mentioned, that this entire concept of how policy to practice, they have NEP with NEP 2020 and with NCF for the foundational stage and NCF for the entire schooling system coming in. There's a lot of, as you mentioned, so many concepts are out, so many terms and terminologies are out, and there is a need for it to understand the way the policies are, the NCF is written for teachers and what does it actually mean in practice. And that brought you here, and you being in the publication, in this industry, how you try to use it. There will be more questions coming in from Manju ma'am, also being a school leader, how she had tried to, implement all her learnings. So that will come with those questions. Now I'll move to Sadhna. Sadhna, could you please share what motivated you to join this course and also
Uh,
introduce yourself?
okay. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Namaste. So, my name is Sana, and I'm currently working as a lecturer in diet. So I work as a teacher educator, but also I'm attached. I mostly work with SCRT of my state in developing so many things, like so many materials like teacher modules, teacher handbook, and also recently we have come up with contextualizing our own state HPC. So the reason for me joining this PG diploma is like how, like, from where I got to hear about this course is obviously from one of the colleague of Ajim Premji University itself. And when I was introduced to this course, nothing was on my mind. The only thing was on my mind was I have to do this course. I don't know much about what this course is going to provide me, but yes, I need to do and grab this opportunity of doing this course, because I have, as an educator, I have always felt that uh, like that I am incomplete without the knowledge of the right or the correct assessment. So in order to know in order to change my perspective, in order to know what the national education policy, what it says about, what it talks about assessment. So I really wanted to know about what is new in assessment, what is a new trend in assessment. So I really wanted to know this. And another thing which really motivated me in joining this course was uh, I look myself as a mediator or as a bridge between the policies and my teachers who are in the schools. So it's because of me, I think I am that one mediator who can transmit those policies and make it possible for teachers to implement in their ground. So for that, I had to update myself. I First thing was I had to change my perspective. I had to upgrade my knowledge about certain pedagogies, the new current policies, and the assessment itself. So, with that reasons, I had really enrolled myself for this thing, for this course. And after the completion, of this PG diploma, it had really opened many doors for me, entering into entering into places, cells like assessment cells, working for my state, working for the system, and also working for the national. Also, I have recently become a core member of NPST also. So it's all because I can really say that it's all because of this course that it has really opened many doors for me. And I'll not say that I have become that competent enough to, but yeah, because of this course only that I am being able to do all these things, to work in the field of assessment, change how teachers look, how teachers actually do assessment in their classrooms, in their schools, how our state, how our system look assessment, as a very difficult part of a teaching learning process. And also assessment not being enjoyed by students, being this assessment has been it's always been taken as a burden to the teachers. So I really wanted to understand this and change the perspective. So this was the all the reasons that put me in, motivated me in enrolling this. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadhna, and it's a pleasure to have you, with us today. You have been working with the state of Sikkim, and you have played such an instrumental role with your entire team to contextualize holistic progress card as well. And you have been continuously working in the assessment cell. So we will be having other questions also for you. In the meanwhile, I'll move to Silga. Silga. What motivated you to join this course?
uh, I mean, actually, the moment I was applying for the course, actually, I was a teacher. Right now, I'm associated with the Eclavia Foundation and I'm based in this project, Schools 2030, which is a global project we are doing with Aga Khan Foundation. But at that moment, I think the thing that ran in my head was mm, I'm doing a lot of teaching, but oh, is the learning actually happening? And what is actually happening inside the heads of my learners? And there, because it was maybe because it was international curriculum, there were a much more freedom on the teacher to design a lot of individualistic or diagnostic assessment. I mean, I'm using those terminologies right now, but I didn't knew at that point of time what I was doing. But I just knew that there is something I can do better at. And actually, so a lot of my colleagues were alma mater of Asim Premji University, mostly from MA education program. And one of them who had actually taken up a course work in assessment during their post graduation, their Professor Shilpi and Professor Anshul was also his faculties. So he had recommended that this is a very good course to actually go forward with. So I kind of fondly remember this thing because then I went through the syllabus and I understood it is a very comprehensive one to understand. A lot of terminologies I'm familiar with, but to go in that, to delve into so much deeper sense and understand it would be a good academic qualification for me at a very early year practitioner, I would call myself. But looking back right now, I think it has helped me a lot. And right now, coming in from a classroom to a large scale assessment, I think there are a lot of things I am right now picking up from the course, and it gave me a lot of meaning to what I'm working in and what I'm looking forward to work in as in building my career. So I'm very glad that these things went up or like worked out in this way.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Silka. It's again a pleasure to have you with us. And also, this entire story that how actually this, a friend of yours was an MA educational assessment elective, and how it started from there. And you said a very beautiful line that you wanted to also see what is going on inside, what's happening inside, the mind of my learners. You wanted to also understand and see that. So I think that's a very good thought, because when you are teacher, you're facilitating, you're doing so many things. We are using different pedagogical strategies, assessment strategies, but how do we actually gauge into that? So I think that's a very important point. With that, I will now move to Shardul. Shardul, it would be wonderful if you could please introduce and share what motivated you to join this course.
Sure. Pleasure to be here and good evening. So I'm Shardul. Currently, I'm serving as a senior project manager over here at Akansha Foundation. I'm based out of Pune, and I'm currently working with the social, you can say, with the government system, and where we are working with strengthening the government schools, how we can improve the teachers' capacity to improve their classroom skills. The project was quite new when I joined in. It was I think back in 2023, when we were also figuring out, what kind of assessment should be there and how to observe and understand how the project is impacting the students' learning, apart from how is it going for the teachers. So that was one of the core components that was always striking me, just to understand what exactly should be done. Also, at the same point of time, though I had some kind of experience of designing assessments, understanding data, but mostly it was about developing content and putting it into the capacity building of the teachers. Uh, this is where I felt that I need to go through some formal education, knowing some part of the concepts through secondary knowledge, or through the peers is not enough. Um, and this is something that struck me to join the course, and I was quite fortunate that I got to know about this course back in 2023, and this has happened to me. So this course has worked for me as a foundation, which helped me clarify what is actually assessment, clarifying all the conceptual understanding, which kind of assessment should be done where and how to design that. And for the teachers, as we talk about a lot of capacity building being done for the teachers currently, we spend a lot of time on curriculum, on the practices of various activities, TLMs, and other content, but there's very little on the assessment side. So this is where I felt the need of teachers to build the capacity upon as well. So till now, this course have been helpful for me to include all of these components. Apart from that, this has also shifted my mindset towards looking the project from the outcome point of view, to share the outcomes, the results with the donors as well, because that becomes a really critical part in the project now. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Shardul. It is a delight to have you with us, and how you have actually shared that, a capacity building of the teachers. You're talking about, like, we have been using different processes, be it TLMs or, different methods, but how actually you had it gave you a conceptual clarity, going through this course, and how you have tried to bring it out. I will ask you, there are more questions we will be asking you, and I would request our participants to also post few questions if you have specific questions for for any of our panelists here also. You can please post. With thank you so much for the introductory round. Now I will move to Anupama, who is our faculty of this course. So Anupama, it would be nice to probably, we can start with you sharing information on, if you can, share what informed the design of this program specifically for working professionals. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, all, and thanks, Pooja, for the question. Us as an organization, Azim Premji Foundation and the university, we've been working in the space of educational assessment for close to 2 decades now. And in this process, we've been interacting with various stakeholders. This includes your teachers, teacher educators, education functionaries, school leaders, etc. Right? And through our work and our time with all of these stakeholders, we realized that assessment as a concept holds different meaning to different stakeholders, right? So, to some of them, assessments are completely equivalent to examinations, and examination sort of becomes the decisive point in many cases, right? Similarly, for many, as Manju ma'am was pointing out, examinations are, sorry, not examinations, assessments as a whole are seen something that is separate from the actual teaching learning that happens in the classroom, right? So this whole idea that one of the primary purpose of assessment is to support student learning is not something that is very commonly observed. This is a belief held by very few, surprisingly, right? So one key push for us was to build this kind of perspective in terms of where do we place assessments in this whole education scenario, right? Secondly, with the National Education Policy 2020, as many of the panelists here mentioned, we've been having an overwhelming number of requests for workshops and continuing professional development and capacity building programs on this whole idea of competency-based education, right? What do we mean by competency-based education, or how do we look at competency-based education and assessment? How do they go hand in hand, right? What does it mean to design a competency based assessment tool which can give you reliable information on student performance, right? What role does something like an assessment framework or a blueprint play? How do you design something as simple as a marking scheme or a rubric to reduce subjectivity in assessment? These are very simple questions, but surprisingly, an area where teachers require, not just teachers, multiple stakeholders in the area require a lot of hand holding, and there has been an inherent need also, which has been expressed time and again, right? And thirdly, what we have also done is we've tried to get an extensive understanding of similar kind of courses that exist in India as well as abroad. And we realize that while abroad we see many courses specifically on educational assessment as a domain, something which is specific to our context, specific to the Indian context. Like for example, when the national curriculum framework now says that we have competencies, we have learning outcomes, we have curricular goals, how much of this does a practitioner understand and is able to interpret, right? Just building that very practical bridge. So these are all some of the key thought processes that kind of went into the design of the program. And again, Pooja, as you pointed out and as you asked, why for practitioners? This is designed for people who are already part of the system. And it is also designed in such a way that it looks at the domain of educational assessment in a very sort of holistic manner, right? So, which is why under this diploma, we have 4 different certificate programs. So, our first certificate program is deliberately designed to be something that is very foundational in nature and which simply explains the fundamental concepts of assessment, right? What are the different purposes of assessment? When do we say that assessment should be formative in nature? When do summative assessments come into the picture, right? Where do large scale assessments fit in? Understanding the different purposes, what are the different approaches to assessment, all of these fundamentals. How do policy over the year view assessments, right? How has this journey been specifically in the Indian context? So all of the fundamentals get covered in the first certificate program. Then we have 2 certificate programs, one which is completely dedicated to formative assessment and another dedicated to summative assessments. So the formative assessment component actually takes you into the classroom and sees what is happening inside the classroom. How do assessments sort of fit into the entire teaching learning narrative? How do we not see it as something separate from what happens in the classroom, and how do we sort of build it together, right? What are the key strategies and tools that you can use in formative assessment to actively promote student learning through assessments? And then coming to summative assessments, how do you sort of meaningfully understand what competencies the students have achieved at the end of a unit or say a term or a stage, right? How do we design valid, reliable and fair tools in such a way that you can accurately assess whether students have achieved the required competencies or not, right? And finally, the last piece of the puzzle is large scale assessment. Large scale assessments are also a very critical component when we say that our program is pitched to look at assessments holistically, to look at it in the complete sense. We also have this large scale assessment component. So what do assessments like a National Achievement Survey, Parak Survey, or the Asar Survey talk about? How do we see systemic health as an education system? How healthy is our system, right? What do we understand from that? How do we read that data? And as a stakeholder, what is in store for me? How do I utilize that, right? Plus, how do I design such large scale assessments for my own interventions as an organization, or as a group working in education, right? And how do you run certain tests like the classical test theory or the IGEM response theory to understand how the quality of your tool? So more of the technical aspects of it as well, right? So the entire program that way has been designed in such a way that it brings in a good blend of theory and practice. We are not just talking theory, but we are also trying to real time try and apply things in practice and see that necessary connect between the two. So this has been more or less the entire thought process behind the program and the larger structure in which the program has been designed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anupama, for taking us through the entire, I would say, the structure also of the course. You took us through the four certificate programs in the diploma program, and also sharing the why of this course with us today. With that at the backdrop, I'll move to Manju ma'am, who's a school leader. So, ma'am, this question is for you. As a school leader, how has the program helped you navigate the shift towards competency based and holistic assessment in your school specifically? And if you could please share a few examples or any changes or any learnings which has emerged out from it. Yeah, that would be nice to hear from you. Yeah.
So, thank you, Pooja, for that question. So, if I look at it from a perspective of a Cambridge school, that is an institution which implements the Cambridge International Education, and from early years to A levels, the entire length and breadth of it, when I see, it really helped me to build a single assessment story from age 3 to 18, if I look at it. So, instead of 5 different stories which are stitched together with exam timetables, it really shifted my thinking from we do assessments to we design learning evidence deliberately. That was a major shift that I have been trying to have my conversation with my team over there. So if I give you examples from the early years of the primary, there is a very conscious effort to articulate the clear learning outcomes around communication, curiosity, or social emotional skills that we talk about. And we have made again a very intentional effort to treat learning stories and observations and portfolios as real legitimate assessment evidences. It was easier said than done, but the diploma really, the whole certificate program really gave me many tools to implement it more effectively. Okay, so it was no longer just cute work to display. That is not how we looked at the learning evidences. We became intentional about naming what we are trying to grow, what is the listening, questioning, and the collaboration skills that we are looking at it. So if I see from the lower secondary or IGCSE perspective, there was a deliberate plan for progression in competencies. It's often talked about from the international school perspective or curriculum perspective that you have critical thinking, you have problem solving, collaboration. To larger extent, these becomes or merely remain as jargons or get settled with the marketing toolkit that you have. But how do you actually bring that into the classroom? So if you actually ask a practitioner in the classroom, they'll be able to give you a couple of examples of where they deliberately brought in critical thinking into the classroom. But when you ask them to see how assessments play a role in there, that's a big gap. And that was the bridge that was required. And that's an effort I wouldn't say that have been successful, because I've been trying to bring all my understanding through this certificate program into the conversations with my team leaders, my tutors in the classroom. So we also push ourselves to focus on the higher order skills. That's very much required when we look at the IGCSE A level curriculum. The depth is immense and it's very difficult. And honestly speaking, if you look at the landscape of international curriculum, the teachers who are teaching the curriculum are mostly from a national curriculum or a state curriculum. So they've not had an exposure to an education like that. You did have trainings, we do have trainings coming from the board and other things. But to be able to build in constructing arguments, if I talk about it, or critiquing a resource, these are skills that require a lot of depth. And how do you build that with assessment? And you can't wait for only the end of year assessment like an IGCSE or an AS or an A level assessment that comes through, or a checkpoint, which is a high stake assessment that my students take at stage 7, that is grade 6 and grade 8. You can't just wait for it to happen over there. I have to start building it from my early years program constructively with my tutors and with my students also to understand. So we make sure that the learning statements and even the rubric is a conversation with the student. It is not something that gets reserved or restricted into the document that you're making when you're planning. You're bringing the stakeholder, that is the student, also into the picture. So today our assessment papers very clearly, explicitly mention the learning statement. Our report cards are from the perspective of the learning statement. So the 6 curricular areas of the early years Cambridge program is absolutely mapped to my report card. So the semester end report card, and we also make an effort to train our parent partners. That's an important stakeholder, because if my teachers do it, we implement it in the class, we assess from that perspective of competencies and learning statements. But if the stakeholder, that is a parent, doesn't understand it, I have really lost the battle, because that mindset shift is a huge shift for us. And my school is in a tier 2 city. We are in Nasik, right? It's not easy for us to move that mindset. So we conduct a lot of unpacking sessions with our parents where we explain to them that how do you read a report card? What does it mean? We've all been part of a generation which got a report card which says can do better. God knows what is that can do better, but we never got the gradation to understand at what skill level, where am I? You're either good in maths or you're bad in English. It was never other parts of it. You never looked at it from a skill point of view. So to that parent, if you give a 24-sheet report card and say these are the skill competencies that we are mapping, and there is a proficiency level and there is a expertise level that you're looking at it's going to sound like Greek and Latin. But the certificate program gave me a much more clarity in terms of even talking to a stakeholder like a parent who's not interested in educational psychology or educational assessment, but we learned how to unpack it for them. So it's been a very gradual, but a very intentional and a conscious shift towards ensuring that assessment was evidence-backed, and the result of an assessment was something which helped my tutor in the classroom and even my student to understand the way forward. It did not stop there. So hence the formative assessment cycles that we build in our school has been really successful to a larger extent to turn the conversation around with assessment. We're not very assessment heavy from our academic calendar if you look at it. So we have 2 semester assessments that we have, but there is a lot of inbuilt formative assessments which every practitioner in the classroom is now consciously building in. So that's a major shift, if I say, to the competency-based and the holistic assessment that I have tried with my school. And when I look at the whole experience of the certificate program, it was so hands-on that it helped us unpack the theory to the practice. We were creating, question papers and questions and items in the class, critiquing it, looking at a feedback loop, how it happens, creating a rubric. You thought it is just going to be like, it was the easiest thing to do, but that was the toughest thing for all of us to put a rubric together, and the kind of grilling that we got when we presented the rubric really made us think through it. So, I mean, I do try and do that with my team, but not to the proficiency level of what Anupama put us through during the time when we were presenting. But it has really sharpened the lens for me. The assessment lens is far more sharper for me as a leader. And I'm not buying anything in the name of assessment. I really put it through a lot of filters before I accept that this is going to really provide an evidence for the tutors to see and plan ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. That's such an enriching, experience, and what you have shared with us, because you have shared the length and breadth of how it is going on. How these changes are evident in your school, and you talk about learning evidences. You talk about how now your students, you do share learning statements, and you also have brought in different stakeholders. So sometimes it so happens that either the parent as a stakeholder is not in the picture, or sometimes the student as a stakeholder is completely amiss. And NEP 2020 is talking about bringing in student as a stakeholder in assessment, moving from assessment of learning to assessment as learning. And we are there for assessment for learning. So nice to see that when you're also giving a very wonderful example that sometimes you talk about critical thinking, and we say that yes, we are teaching it in a way that the students are critically able to probably analyze a text. But what does it actually mean? As you rightly mentioned, how do you unfold that? There is a statement which talks about it. There is a competency. You spoke about progression, how competencies progress from your foundational stage to your secondary stage. But what is the evidence of this progression? How do you see these content, or how do you see this capacities actually building in? And you shared that as formative assessment strategies, you are using portfolio in your school. So and there is an alignment which you try to build across your pedagogy and your assessment. So it is so nice to hear it from you. With that, I yes, you want to share something? Yes, yes, please add.
I just wanted to also put it on record that the journey has been uncomfortable. We've had that friction. It's not been a
Absolutely.
smooth journey. And I think that's the beauty of it. We've all felt that discomfort, or that I don't understand what's happening. This is not, how it should be. So that discomfort I have seen when I have my conversations, even with my segment level coordinators or my teachers, that this does not make sense. And that actually gives me a lot of comfort that yes, we are there, because I fundamentally believe, as a student, as a learner, as a leader, that unless you go through the discomfort and the friction, you're not going to arrive at learning. And for a long-term learning and a long-term change to happen, that discomfort has to be there. So yes, it's been a very, very uncomfortable shift that has been there, but that's also been the beauty of it.
Yes, absolutely. And when you say that, the students are also shared rubrics, and they are aware of what they are being assessed on, or what are the criterias they need to work upon. And I think that in itself is such a forthcoming change. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, with that, I think I would. This is a nice place to probably place this question to all the panelists here, because Anupama has also just now discussed about the four courses we had. So I wanted to ask this question, that across the four courses, which aspects of the program, so be it the assessment framework, or item writing, rubrics, or be it piloting the rubrics, or any other reflective practice which you have undergone, which one did you find most challenging and most transformative? And if you can share why. And I would request any one of you to please volunteer to speak.
May I?
Yeah, Priyanka, please.
Sure. So for me, it was there were actually quite a lot of parameters and criteria. Uh, a lot of things were eye-opening, and as Dr. Manju also pointed out, it was uncomfortable. Every certificate program you would find something or the other that was uncomfortable, and it was really, you have to unlearn, relearn a lot of things. But for me personally, a major shift was item writing. And this I'm saying from the background of a content developer. I'm not just a textbook editor, I'm also a content developer, because as a school textbook developer, you have to write a lot of content. And of course, that involves a huge amount of question writing. So when I learned that there is a method to this madness, and it is a very scientific process, it really opened my eyes. And I remember, I think after that particular certificate program ended, I was so shocked and I was so taken aback that for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I just shared that, it was very shaking. That experience it really shook me, because I understood. Of course, I knew as an editor, I knew Bloom's taxonomy and I knew lower order, higher order, but how to differentiate between, let's say, an apply level question and an analyze level question, and how to actually create an MCQ with 3 distractors and 1 key, and give a proper marking scheme, and what could be the correct answer, or there could be multiple answers that could be correct. And it is a whole process. Nobody can tell you in 5 minutes or 10 minutes what this is all about. For this, you'll have to do the course, but it is really a process, and it is an eye-opening process for me. What I really liked was we got this opportunity to not just create our items in question papers, also pilot them in a school. And with my experience, I thought I knew that we were going to a school with, and we were posing these questions to grade 6 to 8 kids. And I thought I knew the level of those grade 6 to 8ers, but I was shocked again. And what I thought would be easy for a child to understand, for example, let's say a statement based MCQ or a true or false MCQ, they were struggling to understand that sort of a question. And what I thought would be very difficult for them to answer, they were sailing through it, and they gave such creative answers. And I still have those answer sheets with me, and I still go through them from time to time, to make me understand that this is that you could be wrong, and experience always does not matter, and there are so many things that you still need to learn and still need to understand. So yeah, for me, that would be item writing. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your transformative movement, or I would say learning from the course. And you're right, as you mentioned, that it is uncomfortable at the beginning, because whenever unlearning happens, when you shift at that perspective level, you're shaking your deep rooted probably concepts or misconcepts, and you are analyzing, evaluating, relooking at reflecting on your practice of creating items, piloting it, and also checking continuously, constantly on the quality parameters, which you learn during the course. And then you say, you understand that, as you mentioned, there is a science and there is also an art to creating items, right? And it is a humbling process to go through, because it happens with everyone. We create an item and it looks wonderfully perfect to us, but when we actually panel it and when we actually pilot it, the reality comes in. Paneling means when we actually just sharing, like 2 or 3 of us will go through the same item, and then we will realize or understand what are the shortcomings, how can we improve based on the quality parameters. So yes, absolutely. And since you are working as you have been working in this field of publishing, creating items, so it's really nice to hear your story or your learning journey. Great. So anyone else, or otherwise I can move to the next question. Okay, so with that, I would ask my next question to Sadhna. Sadhna has been working at the systemic level. She has been an instrumental part of implementing policy. Sadhna, this question is for you. That you have been working closely on national education policy implementation at the state level, and it would be nice to hear from you what learnings from the program were directly applicable in the field for you as a student of diploma program, and if there is any anecdote or any learnings you could share when you worked contextualizing the holistic progress card with the Sikkim state.
Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, thank you for the question. So, if I have to say in one line, which part of the course has helped me in implementing the policy in the systemic level is, I would say, from CP1 to CP4. All the course, all the four certificate, if anyone is thinking of enrolling them, so they shouldn't be going for the certificate course. They should go for the full diploma course, because whatever I am implementing here, I am implementing it starting from CP1 to CP4, because I cannot just say that this certificate course has more implication in my field and this has less implication. So so the whole journey of developing HPC was it it nearly took us 1 year, one whole year to develop or contextualize our HPC for state Sikkim, and yeah, completing this course has really helped me in looking into what the policy is actually saying about the holistic development and how to contextualize that in our state, looking at the need, looking at the aspiration, looking at our geographical region of our state, and also taking into consideration the type of learners that we have in our government schools, the type of parents who are involved in their teaching learning process. So all these elements we had to consider it, and uh, uh, the major part of the course which we had, the CP2, which was all about formative assessment. So HPC is also mostly the most part of HPC talks about formative assessment. So, how we have developed our HPC is that we have developed till middle stage. So, our foundational stage HPC is fully formative assessment. It has full formative assessment. So, uh, d- so not making it overburden to the teachers and making our HPC jargon free again, making it into a simple language so that not only the teachers, even their parents are able to understand how their children are progressing into it. So the the most part of formative assessment, this thing certificate course, the whatever I learned in that course I had applied here. Like, for example, I would like to share, in our HPC, it's not only the teacher who does the assessment, it's the student himself, it's his peer also, and his parents are also involved in, taking the ownership of their children's learning. So now there is no scope for teachers blaming the parents for not taking the responsibility. There is no scope for the parents blaming the teachers for not delivering the content properly, because now we have in our HPC, what we have is the parent teacher collaboration part, where both the parents and teachers, they come together and they contribute in students learning. So, and one thing that we have added into our HPC is that, again, now moving to CP3, which wholly talks about summative assessment, and how we cannot overlook summative assessment when it comes to assessment. So summative assessment has its own importance. So, and what we have made our HPC is that people shouldn't have this understanding of that HPC only records the formative operationalization of formative assessment, but also we have started introducing summative assessment from in preparatory and middle stage. So again, again introducing formative assessment in this stage, also making it not only a pen and paper type of summative assessment was really challenging, but then also with the knowledge that I had gained from this course had really helped me in making my team understand the difference between the formative assessment, the summative assessment, and how this type of assessment has its own role and importance to play in the HPC. So that we have put in, that we have come up with. And yes, developing, like I said, that the whole course has its own importance. So uh, developing self assessment items, statements, peer assessment statements. So we had lots of challenges, but the knowledge that I had from this diploma course had really helped, and I think somewhat had made easy for my team also in successfully coming up with our state HPC exams.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, thanks, Sadhna. I think Sadhna will come back. It was very nice listening to how Sadhna shared actually the entire, there are four courses, and she started that how each and every course of this, program has added to her learning, and how the first program, the first course of this program is actually about building perspective around assessment, and the entire how it is rooted, and how we need to see it from also the policy and practitioners point of view, to moving on to the second course, which is around formative assessment, and the third course on summative assessment, and then the fourth course is around large scale assessment. So she's saying that the HPC, which is a holistic progress card, which is they have designed or contextualized for the Sikkim state, they have tried to bring in again the child at the center, and their voices. Not only there is a component of self assessment and peer assessment, which is such a long journey from where a traditional report card, I must say, stand to something very transformative. I would say, this is a huge learning curve, or I would say a tool which we have now, wherein she's talking about also parent teacher collaboration. That how this component where a parent and teacher sit together and probably write a feedback, so all those components do reflect, and it HPC, as she is mentioning, this is still under pilot, and it takes time to implement, and we will also hear from her again. So we also have a few questions on the chat. uh, there is a question from Neha. She says that I work with a non-profit supporting Anganwadis in remote rural areas of West Bengal. Since there is no structured assessment system in place, how useful would this course be for our context? It would be nice if Silga or Shardul, you can please answer this question.
Yeah, sure. Or if Silga would like to go ahead, then yeah, please.
Shardul, you can speak, and then I just.
Sure. As this course talks about four different parts, as Anupama has already mentioned, there is this specific part on the formative assessment. And the Anganwadis or Balwadis are a part of the foundational stage where we are talking about KG to grade 2. And in this course, what is really essential is to understand in the very first course, when we talk about the purpose of education, how it is transitioned from a very early age to the end of the school journey, and how exactly do we want the students to grow up on. So, and in this case, very specific to Anganwadis, we do have NCF framework where the learning outcomes and competencies are already given and provided, which is an add-on, which is a quite of a bonus for the teachers to actually, understand where exactly the students are. The HPCs are already there, as Sadhna has already mentioned. How this course would be helpful is to, how can you design formative assessments for the kids to understand how exactly are they growing and learning year on year, or on a periodic basis, or simply as in when we enter in a classroom, how can we exactly communicate those learnings outcomes to the students, because it's really difficult for a teacher to communicate those learning outcomes to the of such early age. Here in the course, as we had talked about the black box theory, where we talked about five different things, how we can communicate the learning outcomes, and how can each of the key stakeholders of a classroom, if I can say, can contribute to students learning. So I think these aspects becomes really essential that we cover in the formative assessment part. Uh, yeah. So I think this has been really effective for me. I think I personally was, developing summative assessment and formative assessment. I really struggled with the designing summative assessment for early grade students, because most of the times I was coming with any of the test items, either it was pen on paper, or it. I was not able to actually frame it in the summative part. So I might share in some time. I think when Silka talks, because I would like take a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chardul. Silga, would you like to please add something?
Like working in a non-profit sector myself right now as an external stakeholders. Um, for we in our project also we work with the 5+ age group where we work with the Anganwadi Sevika Didis. For initially, one of the thing that I have to add more than the formative assessment that Shardul has mentioned also is the fourth CP4 that we discussed about large scale assessments, where we actually understand a lot of part is also built. I think in the CP3 also coming from summative assessment, where a assessment framework comes in, test construct comes in, which is also quite confusing and difficult to comprehend initially, but working in that sector and understanding why do we need a assessment in the first place from a external party doing it, or uh, or even in the other sense trying to build the capacity of Sevika Didi in doing assessments in their own classrooms, for maybe doing formative assessments in their own classrooms, and actually um, seeing that learning evidences can be gathered from very young years also, with a very definite aim and understanding of the process that we can follow, which will help us gather valid and reliable data, and being also fair to the age that we are dealing with, especially given the rural context or remote context where language or culture also is a very different thing, and we need to bring in a lot of contextual elements for the early years, especially working in Indian scenario, that kind of development for a foundational stage. I think this course would really help to understand the nuances of why, first of all, do get into that space and start doing something, and what would be the process exactly to follow so that we don't get into any mistakes, because dealing with very early years for a as an external party, and not making those children anxious, or what kind of processes can be established so that we don't make them feel that we have come to do an exam for you, but it is something that if it's a project and I'm coming getting into an Anganwadi, I'm not going there to scare the children, and what kind of protocols should I follow also, from a very process point of view, as well as on the other side, like capacity building or the learning evidences that we are trying to gather. What kind of evidence would be a learning evidence for those kind of years? How do we actually try to establish contextualized tools and techniques that would help that Sevika Didi to gather in their classrooms? And I would actually add one of the really good example that I've come across after joining this project. So during one of our capacity building training, one of our Sevika Didi at the end of the program said she is now going to use self-assessment sticks in her classroom to see if the kids in her class is actually doing something, and maybe record some anecdotes of few of the kids every week and try to see the progress with regard to the Aadhar Shila that we have in the state. So I think this course is very helpful in that regard.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing such enriching response to this question, Shardul and Silga. I would also ask, there are a couple of questions, Anupama, around the length of the course and duration of the course. Would you like to take it up, please?
Yeah, sure. So, our postgraduate diploma program is a 12-month program. It is a 1 year program. And as I said, there are 4 certificate programs to it. And again, this is built for working professionals. And hence, we were very cognizant of the fact that these are people working through the day and have to undertake a program of this nature and this rigor. So, there's a lot of inbuilt flexibility into the program. So each of these 4 certificates, they run for a period of 3 months each. So 12 weeks. And out of these 12 weeks, 11 weeks you will have sessions online in a webinar mode. These are during evening hours, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the evening. And you usually have 2 webinars a week. And for each certificate program, we have a 1 week contact class here at Azim Premji University, Bangalore campus. And those of you who might be interested in undergoing the entire postgraduate diploma program, you are expected to come at least twice for the contact program at the university, and the rest remaining of it you can do it in a completely online mode. But at the same time, we also understand many of them are, although Sadhana recommends the entire diploma program, we understand that some people would want to come in for a specific certificate program due to whatever reason, right? So that flexibility is also built in. You can choose to do just 1 or 2 certificate program in one go. If you're just attempting one certificate program, the contact classes at the university is compulsory. This is primarily also because this whole contact program at the university turns into some kind of very what do you say, a safe space, a very intimate space for peer learning and lot of shared understanding and a lot of network building. And from the 2 batches that we have completed, this stands testimony to the kind of camaraderie also it brings, as students undergoing a similar program. So that way, we've received very good response to the contact program, and we have usually our participants coming in for all 4 contact programs. And additionally, one more aspect of flexibility considering working professional is that you get 2 academic years to complete the 4 certificates. So suppose in the first year you join, you're only able to complete 2 certificates. You have one more year where you can come back and complete the remaining 2. So these are all a few things that are built in to ensure that somebody with a full-time working life is able to sort of undertake such a program without hindering their day-to-day sort of work life or this thing. And further details are available in our website. The link for that would be posted in the comment box. Please do go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anupama. So, thanks, Sadhna, for sharing your response. I will now move to Silga and Shardul to share from a development sector lens, right? How has this program supported your professional work? And also, what value do you see for others working in policy, research, or large-scale, education initiatives? If you could please share your insights around this question.
So I think it's really difficult to actually answer that which of the very specific components. I'll start with the perspective building. Uh, how how the whole course start to scaffold my own learning and unlearning process, just not about assessments but also looking at the education. And it becomes really difficult for a content developer, or you can say a professional working in the non-profit sector, and most of the projects are around capacity building, because this is not something that you are directly taking to the classroom. This will go through some of the teachers, or whatever intervention we are doing in the sector. So for the capacity building perspective, if I see this, I think how it contributes is that it builds our own capacity first to look at assessments, it should be integrated in the classroom, not as like it should be done on a certain frequency or something like that. Hence, this learning can be, take it ahead with the teachers, so that they can also start to implement it in their own classrooms. The journey is not easy, as in many a times we have observed that when we work at the large scale, it's difficult to take the practices ahead at the scale. So how can we design such trainings? How can we make some templates? How can we do uh, you, yeah.
Yeah, just one thing. There is a question from Ritik Kumar asking what is F2F. So it is face to face. Sorry, we are also used to sharing this because a part of our
Acronyms.
program, our diploma program. So yes, we will be cognizant and break it up. And as I also mentioned that this is an entire program, huh? And this diploma program has many courses. So sometimes because we have been in this journey for a long time, and we refer it as a course and sometimes as a diploma. We just wanted to place it here that this is a diploma, and the diploma has different courses in it. And many of you, Sadhna, Anupama, has taken us through what these courses are. And yes, very sorry, Shardul, over to you again.
No
Yes.
worries. Yeah, so how do we include these learnings to the capacity building session becomes really important. So how I see is that someone who is designing curriculum, who is designing trainings, or doing some kind of a research, or has interest in data, reports, outcomes like me, this course sets a foundation, clarifies all the unlearnings and learnings, so that you can start to practice it on a daily basis. And eventually, I think after 1 year of, I mean, after the course, I feel that there are still, I mean, a lot of parts where I feel that I need to, dig into, like, if I start to talk about, large scale assessment, IRTs. So this is something that really interests me. If I really want to do research, if I really want to understand which of the assessment tools are functional, non-functional, which items to be removed or not. So I think this course becomes really essential. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Shardul. So, yeah, very aptly you said, that you do the there is a hypothesis, and you run it, you test it, and then you say that this will work or this will
Yeah.
not work. Yes. Thanks, Silga. Would you please like to add?
Yeah, so actually, the way I am right now seeing my own career and the way I have indulged with the courses. To begin with, I was a direct stakeholder, and right now I'm working as an external stakeholder for the in teaching learning processes, where I am a part of a non-profit. We work with system, we work with the project that we have come up. But the entire program where it started, I think I remember this line that the purpose of assessment should determine the design of the assessments. And this actually makes sense for me a lot right now, because every time we use a large scale assessment term, and we work with the system, we get into NAS report or the ASER report or the Nipun, and then we try to break it down, or like the competencies are not achieved in this district, what is happening in the school of this, and the results are actually associated with the teacher, while the actual purpose of that assessment was to check the systemic health, but the blame gets back to a teacher in the classroom. And to I think after the course, while I'm inside this scenario, I am able to understand a lot of dynamics that we are working with, but also understand that where we can do the corrective measures, where we can get into the supportive measures of understanding that yes, the teacher in the classroom is the direct stakeholders who can impact the teaching learning process the most, but a large scale assessment is designed for something else, and its design, its processes need to be designed in a manner that it would give valid reliable data for the system, and it should not be used to judge an individual school or a teacher in that case. But also like working in this project where I am closely associated with the schools and classrooms, I also get to see with the nature of the project leading to a teacher agency, assessments when designed by teacher in their classroom actually is the most effective manner to gauge where the learners are, and also provide the best effective measures to guide them in where they actually need to go. Maybe in the NAS we call it as competency, but it all starts back in the classroom. And working with this project, I've also understood that, like Shardul had mentioned, uh, like decoding and coding a lot of, understanding and a lot of vocabularies that is in place in the assessment theorems, like psychometric analysis. What is the validity of this tool, and how do you ensure the what is the interactive test that you're running out? And then we have global partners with us working in assessment who sends us report, and we are decoding it, and it makes a lot of sense after this course that this is what they are meaning, this is what, and this is what we can do right now. So, and this is what I as a practitioner should think while I would design a large scale assessment, or we are working in a project with a team, and we need also assessment experts to also come in and understand, like it's not just subject matter expertise that would come in, but is the tool actually being fair to the context that we are designing it for? And do we have enough processes that are established, like creating an assessment framework or defining the test construct in itself, which would guide that entire process of why we are doing that project, or how are we going to gather evidences from the teaching learning process that we are trying to impact to? And as well as the point that I've said earlier, also working with educators on their capacity building, or working with the system in along with them in supporting them in the capacity building of their educators. I think it is very calming for myself to also realize that assessment is not something to blame the teacher, assessment is not something to blame the student, assessment is something very simple and very joyful experience that is an efficient measure to the learning that is happening. And that kind of very change in a philosophy of the way I was seeing assessment is very I think very beautiful experience for me after the course.
Yes, thank you so much, Silka and Shardul. And it was very reflective and very I would say to listen to how you have actually tried to bring in I would say the kaleidoscope, different lenses and different perspectives of how you have actually seen this interlinkages between curriculum, textbook, and assessment design. And as you mentioned that it is very scaffolding. It is the nature in itself is the shift from where we just point finger to rather going into as assessment as learning towards that kind of philosophy what you are saying. So it becomes there is a joy and the beauty and the art and also the science of assessment which you try to bring in. So thank you so much for bringing that perspective and your learnings to the table. Now I would like to pose this question to Priyanka. Priyanka, since you have you come from a publishing background and content development, I must say that given this background in publishing and editing, What linkages do you see again, with assessment design and textbook? If you could please share.
Right. So I see assessment design as the most crucial aspect of, and especially after doing this course, I understood how important and what is the impact of something like, even one question could have on the child. So it's I see assessment design as a catalyst in this whole system when we talk about textbook development, because we are talking about stakeholders, whether it's teachers, students, parents, your school management, directors, principals who are in the process of selecting the textbooks, or even if I see it from my perspective, sitting where I am as a private publisher, we are managing expectations even sometimes of the distributors to whom we sell the books. Even they don't have any academic background, but they have a lot of inputs to tell us that this is how the book should be, or these are the kind of questions that you should add. So we are managing a lot of expectations when it comes to textbook development, and I feel assessment as a catalyst to that, because to all these stakeholders, assessment is very, very important for their own reasons. Students have their own reason, teachers have, parents have their own reasons. But assessment is something that we all categorically agree that this is something very important. And there are a lot of reforms that the boards are doing currently, CBSE, ICSE, NCRT. They're talking about a lot of reforms in assessment, and every 6 months or a year, the pattern of the paper is changing, and people are now they might not know understand the assertion, reason, or statement based questions, but I think every teacher, every student now knows, every parent now knows assertion, reason questions, because it's now part of the board exam. So I feel assessment design and learning this correctly and learning this thoroughly, deep diving into assessment design frameworks and developing items is something extremely important at this stage where we are, because we are at a stage where things are changing. There is also the advent of artificial intelligence. We are speaking about a lot of things being developed automatically, or the AI can do these things for you, the automatic things for you, and you are just left to analyze and see if things are going in the right track. So this is where we are, and I think this assessment design can work as a catalyst to the kind of reforms that actually NEP and NCF is talking about. And this course is absolutely vital in that sense, because anybody who is part of this stakeholder needs to understand the things correctly. I would, in fact, emphasize that the school owners and principals and directors who are, or anybody who's selecting the textbooks, need to understand it like really, really well, because as Dr. Manju also mentioned earlier, that she now has, because of the course, she now has understood the nuances, and she can now see if this is a marketing gimmick or if it is actually something which can bring in the real change in the classroom. So I think from every stakeholder point of view, assessment design can work as a that's how I see it. It can work as a catalyst, and it can really bring in that reform that we are hoping for and we are asking for.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Priyanka. And it was very, again, enriching to, listen to you how you're talking about assessment as a catalyst, and how you have also tried to bring in the current, contemporary reality, that how, artificial intelligence is there for us, and how now also connecting to what Manju ma'am also said, that, there is, everything is there at, you can generate it instantly, but how this course has given you tools and capacities, and at the disposition and skills and content, in order to for you to sort of analyze and contextualize it for you, for at your level, for your audience, for your students, right? So I think that in itself is praiseworthy. And before you, Silga and Shardul, we're also talking about different how purposes of assessments are different, and how hence the design of assessment is different. And they also brought in, the policy perspective. I mean, in terms of the research, how a large scale education initiatives are hence informed. So it was very nice listening to all of you. And also um, uh, we have with us Sadhna, who also shared her state level, experiences, how she had tried to contextualize again a holistic progress card. We also have a few questions on the chat. Before that, I think I would like to go back to Anupama and try to understand how this program, diploma in educational assessment, how is the structure and flexibility of this program supporting meaningful learning alongside full-time work? Because we can see also in the chat, and we have a lot of applications around that, they are full-time professionals. So how is this program designed to cater this kind of flexibility? Yeah, over to you, Anupama.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we ensure some bit of flexibility in terms of timing. So somebody had I think Deepa had a question: how many hours a week do we spend? So it will be 2 hours per, actually 4 hours per week through webinars in an online mode. This is also a university credited program. So this is not just attending webinars. You will have certain readings to go through, resources to go through. You will be doing certain assignments. So this is also part of some bit of self study that is involved. So the program is designed in such a way that there is direct faculty interaction in all our webinars, unlike say a Coursera program, etc., where you see recorded webinars. That's not the way webinars happen in this particular program. For all the courses under each of the certificate, you will have you will have a direct interaction with the faculty through webinar, and also the face to face component at the contact classes. Plus somebody has been asking me about the schedule. So we have given a schedule in the web page, and the schedule is more or less fixed until and unless there is some kind of unforeseen circumstance due to which we have to change our contact program dates. Webinars, as I said, because it is twice a week and it is in the evening hours. In case there is one or two webinar which has to be changed, it is informed to students well in advance. But usually we stick to the calendar that is given in the web page.
Yeah.
And there's one more question, Pooja, I'd like to answer. Do you have to be attached to a school to be part of the program? As you see, the majority of the panelists here, they're not directly teaching in a school or attached to a school. We do have people from the publishing industry. We have people working in the development sector, working with organizations. So it is not necessary that you are attached with any school. The only criteria here is that an undergraduate degree and at least a year of work experience in the domain of education, in the larger domain of education. It could be anything from publishing to working with the development sector organization to working in a school or being a institutional functionary, any of that. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I think we have few more questions, but I think you have covered it in your response. There is a question from Neha. I wanted to know if the dates mentioned for the program are fixed. There's another question from Tenzin saying about the fixed schedule. Yeah, I think Anupama has already answered them. Great. Thanks, Anupama. Now, I have my last question, which is open to all the panelists. Um, what advice, since now we have come to the very end of our discussion, what advice would you like to, share with educators or professionals who are considering this postgraduate diploma in educational assessment this year? What learning commitment should they expect? And how does this alumni community continue to support learning beyond this program, once you complete this program? Yeah, any one of you can please share.
May I?
Yes, please.
So I think anybody who's looking forward to be part of a most diverse cohort to learn from, this is one of the best courses to ever come together. Because from our experience of the first batch, I think we were one of the most diverse cohort that could ever come together in a room or on a webinar. We had Murlidharan sir, who was 70 plus, who used to create questions and corrections for one of the most high stake examinations in the country, to our youngest one who's here with us, Silga. I mean, the length and breadth of the experiences which was brought in was absolutely amazing, because the depth of the conversation would go across the spectrum from policy to classroom. I mean, it never felt like a plain rice being served. It was a Malabari, a Nawabi, and a Hyderabadi biryani all served together. It was a very different vantage point for anybody who was part of those deep conversations that happened. So if you're looking at really shaking up a lot of your what you believe to be the right way assessment has to be conducted, and ready to unlearn and learn and get into the depth of it, this is certainly a certificate program or diploma program to be taken up very effectively. Also, like most of us said, this is not something that you do to put across your as a badge of honor. This is something that you have to do if you're ready to go through that uncomfortable space of it. Because yes, Anupama did talk about the flexibility, but she also mentioned very rightly that the rigor that is expected. In a week, you will have two webinars. The readings are very, very immersive, and the kind of conversations that the faculty has with you during the webinar or when you're submitting an assignment, the kind of feedback that comes through, it is something that is going to fundamentally change you as somebody who's working in the education sector across. I mean, for somebody like Priyanka, who's talking about publishing, to Sadhna, who works at the policy level, to Shardul and Silga, who works at the level of research and large scale assessment, it is a very immersive program. So if you really want to be part of a program which will fundamentally change you and also force you to read further, the kind of questions that it leaves behind for you, for me at least, I mean, I was always trying to find correlation to how do I get back these things into my international curriculum, which gave me a lot of freedom as a board, but yet being able to find nuances, the kind of reading I have gone beyond after the course also. I would thank the faculty. The course design is brilliant. So if you're really taking it up, take it up with the understanding that you're going to deep dive into a course which will change you fundamentally.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manju ma'am. And you have covered many points, and I would say, like, you spoke about the length and breadth, the rigor of this course. You also spoke about the course design, and how actually, once you undergo through this, although it also shakes you up because you learn and you unlearn in the process. So thank you so much for bringing that up. If there is anyone else who would like to share any kind of advice or thought to your fellow. Uh,
I just wanted to share one thing very personal to me also. Like, um, I understand and I really agree to this point that the course is very rigorous, but I would also suggest this course to anybody working with assessment, because it is also well supported. Like, if it's assignments of the course, I would talk in academic terms. There are rubrics, there are systems that would support you, there are professors whom you can meet, whom you can talk to. And I think we all would agree to what Anupama had earlier mentioned, that the classes which would happen, the F2F that we are calling, the face to face, is very supportive and very enriching in itself, because it gives a lot of perspectives and it also supports to do the rigorous work. It does not leave one person to do it on their individual basis, because a working professional does not get the time also to feel that kind of way. So I think that is a course which, because it's an assessment course also, they have actually designed so well that it has actually, I think, doing what they have preached. So yes, I would do this suggestion to the people who are watching.
Yeah, thank you so much, Silga, for bringing that up. And Anupama, would you like to add something at this point?
Nothing to add from my end, Pooja. I think our participants, our panel has wonderfully summarized and shared their experience. So, yeah, nothing further to add from my end.
Great, great. Thank you so much. I would like to, this is now, we have come to a close of this discussion. And I would like to thank all our panelists for sharing their experiences, your reflections, and your insights so generously. So we are very grateful for that. And today's conversation also reminds us that, of course, assessment. Is how we are revisiting, or how we are going back, reflecting, unpacking the assessment thoughtfully, and also evolving this practice shaped by our context, collaboration. Silga just mentioned that while doing this course, once you come on campus for the face to face classes, so it is a hybrid kind of learning, wherein you bring you are online, we connect for webinars, and then we also meet face to face in all the four different courses. So how it is very, very collaborative in nature, it is very flexible, and the learning is continuous, right? So these diverse journeys, we heard how highlight professional learnings can translate into meaningful change in practice. I think that is very, very important for us to note here, and I hope that this dialogue has offered valuable perspectives to those of you who are considering the program. And you are also reaffirmed hearing all the panelists that how important it is to stay engaged in conversations that deepen our understanding of assessment. So with that, thank you to everyone who joined us. And we look forward to again continue this exchange through future sessions in the alumni series. As I mentioned, this has been our first series of Alumni Connect here, and we would love to have more. This we are just going to close. We just done our second course program in the diploma in education assessment. So with that, thank you so much. You can please, I think we'll share more details with you. Those of you who are interested, you can go through our brochures, the links, everything will be shared with you. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out time and answering all the questions. Have a good evening. Bye bye.